Hello, welcome back. We're going to take a look at stopping the insanity today. In particular, the belief that the body is you, that it is more real than the mind, and that it constitutes your entire reality and nothing else is your reality. This device that can barely stand the prick of a pin, this thing that we cherish with pretty much all of our thought and our effort here in the world, this belief that this is you, that it's all you've ever been, all that you are right now, and all that you ever will be until it dies. And you die. That is the insanity that we're taking a look at today, a close look at. And it's what we're all moving away from. Now, everything in the world that we see with the body's eyes, everything that we feel with the body's sensory organs, right? Everything we hear, taste, touch, smell, all of that, right? All of this seems to attest to this being our reality. Yet, here you are. Now, here I am. Here you are, knowing that that's not, in fact, the case. Knowing that there's more to it than simply what appears in the mirror. If you hadn't had that experience at least once, you wouldn't be interested in spirituality in the first place. And here you are. So let's get real with it and let's get dirty in it, shall we, today? We're in the text, chapter 6, section 4, and it's the only answer. The Holy Spirit, your inner teacher, is the only answer. Capital A. That's all you need. And as we saw in the last video, the first question that the ego ever asked, what am I? You can also say, who am I? It has never answered. It's not capable of answering that question. It's not capable of answering any questions, though, as we see here, it raises a great many, and it does, doesn't it? One after another in its constant stream of chatter. So what happens is the ego does not communicate with the Holy Spirit. It can't hear the Holy Spirit, yet it senses the Holy Spirit, your inner teacher, the part of your mind that speaks for God, the voice for God. The ego senses the Holy Spirit, this sane part of your mind, and is afraid of it because it deep down is afraid that you're going to cancel it, in a manner of speaking. You're going to set it aside, which you are. We all are. The ego is terrified of this, so it attacks you as its maker. It sees you as separate from it. That's its fundamental error, is it sees itself as outside of you, its separation. So it attacks, believing that attack is its best defense, and it wants you to believe exactly the same thing, that your best defense is to attack. Attack your brother. Attack, attack, attack. Put someone down. Call them names. Say that they're crazy and insinuate that they have no intelligence whatsoever, that they suck, they're scum. Preemptively strike them all down. They're out to get you. Insane. Utterly insane. When we think about this in the context of our daily lives, most of the stuff that we worry about never happens. Think of all of the time that you have spent at some point in your life. Maybe it was this morning, maybe it was years ago, worrying about a situation or an event that just seemed so real to you. You just were convinced that it was going to happen, and it never did. And you spent all of that time stressed out, worrying about it, and it never, ever came to pass. We spend so much of our lives that way, constructing elaborate defenses and scenarios. What happens if someone says this? What if he says this? What if she says this? Then I'm going to say this. And what if this happens? And what if this happens? And none of it ever comes to pass. How about that? We've all had that experience. It's completely common to us here in the world. When we identify with the ego, we want to preemptively strike because we're paranoid, schizzed out, and afraid. We think that our brother is out to get us. Well, our brother is us. He's not out to get us. There is no separation of any kind. The ego clearly does not want you to acknowledge that. So, in this effort to attack, the ego turns to the body, this thing that's 80% water, as its ally. Not its brother, not its friend, but its ally. It understands and recognizes that the body is not part of you. It's not. It's not part of you. This is something that we all know deep down, but the ego wants to convince you that it is you. It wants to convince you that this thing that's 80% water is more real than the mind. That the mind is not real, that it's made up and fake, and this is our concrete, tangible, touchable, feelable reality. When we see ourselves as an ego, as an individual, that's how we behave. That is the thought system that we here in the world have adhered to, seemingly from time immemorial. Only there is this part of our mind that knows better, that knows differently, and awaits your invitation to allow only that sane part of your mind to invite your inner teacher to completely run the show, so to speak, to direct your forgiveness. Yes, to direct your spiritual practice, your life. Every thought, every relationship, every situation, thought, speech, deed, all of it, we're invited to give our experience over to our inner teacher. Why should we be afraid of this? Our inner teacher is inner. It's a part of you. Your inner teacher is a part of you. You are not ceding control of your life and existence here in the world to a foreign, alien power. You're not capitulating. You're simply allowing truth to be as it is rather than frantically trying to get in the way. You're getting out of your own way. That is what we mean in spirituality in general by this. We're getting out of our own way here. And in so doing, we set the ego aside. We're setting it aside. We're not thinking that we know best, and by ourselves, with our very limited scope of reference, with their extremely limited frame of reference, that we know all ends. We don't. Our teacher does and can guide us if we allow him to. So, as we go forward here in this passage of the text, we see that the Holy Spirit's clear answer is that we are a child of God, one with God. We're created as part of Him. We're at home in God, and we've never left. We're simply asleep here in the world and dreaming of exile, dreaming of separation. But it's simply a dream from which we will all wake up. It's just like a dream that we have at night, where the images and the situations appear so real, and they frighten us sometimes because we are experiencing some serious randomness. The weirdest things happen in our dreams, don't they? They're weird. The situations are weird, and they're not what we would encounter here in the waking state. And all of the laws of Newtonian physics and biology and science are violated seemingly all of the time. There's some odd situations, and they seem so real, yet when we wake up, we recognize instantly that they're nothing. Same. This is a waking dream. When you awaken, it's gone. Just like your dreams that you have when you're asleep are gone when you wake up. It is the same thing. And it's only our adherence to the ego that keeps us bound in this state. It's only our belief in our individuality that makes it real for us. Such is the power of your mind. You could choose, you could exercise your power of decision right now to choose your inner teacher, to switch thought systems from the thought system of the ego to the thought system of the Holy Spirit. You could switch from fear to love, from darkness to light, however you wish to characterize this in words. You could choose to do this right now, today. Why do I say this often? Because, well, we have this choice right now and every day. And if this thing that you call the body is still here tomorrow, you'll have that choice then. And you know what? You'll have it anyway. Because you're not a body. There is a very good reason why this is stated, quite frankly, throughout A Course in Miracles, that we're not a body. Lesson 199, I am not a body, if you're in the workbook or you've done the workbook. And if you have, then you'll know that lessons 201 through 220, encompassing a review period, all have as their centerpiece the statement, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. With the rhyme naturally deliberate, so it sticks in our brains, our distracted brains. And that's true. Deep down, we know this. The fact that you're watching this to the end means that you do know this. Now, here's something that's very, very important and that is worth saying. You're free to deny this. As a practical matter, because we have this choice of light or dark, of love or fear, of God or the ego, right here in the present moment, it means that you could choose the ego if you want to. You can. You can choose the ego and say that this image on your screen, which by the way is only a pixelated image on your screen, is speaking falsely and attempting to coerce you. You could say whatever you want. I mean, you can put down the speaker all you want. We naturally do this often in the world. Think of us scrolling our Facebook feed, for example, and we may have some friends that are of the opposite political ilk from us, and they may be quite vocal about their views and stuff. And we pass judgment on them. You can pass judgment on me. You can pass judgment on any spiritual teacher throughout space and time. You're free to do this. You're free to ignore what your inner teacher tells you. You don't have to listen to your inner teacher at all. And just because you choose not to listen doesn't mean that the call doesn't exist. Just because you choose to hide in the darkness does not mean that the light is still, it doesn't mean that the light is gone. Just because you choose not to see it doesn't mean that it's not there. It's still there. It's a choice. You may know plenty of people who have chosen not to practice spirituality, not to be interested in spirituality in this lifetime. So what? We all do. So be it. That's their choice. You have the same choice. So you could choose your inner teacher. You could choose to allow truth to be just as it is. In other words, you could choose love. So this course is 100% a course in mind training. All spirituality is exactly the same thing. It is mind training. If you're an adherent of Buddhism or you practice Eastern philosophy, what is that but mind training? So, what is the training and who's doing the training? Well, your self with a capital S is doing the training. Your inner teacher is the trainer, if you will. However, important point, while you're learning, your inner teacher is part of you. It's not separate. Anytime that you're tempted to see yourself as separate from anyone in the world, from anything or God or Jesus or the Holy Spirit or an angel or your guide or guides or whatever the case may be, whatever the case may be, anytime you're tempted to see yourself as separate, you are not separate. There is no separation at all. There never has been, there never will be, and there certainly isn't now. There is no separation of any kind. One means one. One equals one. That's all the math that you have to do. Yes, no complicated trigonometric formulae. You don't have to factor polynomials in A Course in Miracles, and there's no calculus exam. Lucky us, right? The mathematics, very simple. One. We have to be able to count to one. And we can actually stop counting after that. So you don't have to count to 8 billion, which would only be really tedious. And if you're thinking that your time can be better spent forgiving the Son of God, you would be right about that. Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in. Comments and questions are always welcome. I do welcome all of them. So the spiritual path is going to generate questions from time to time. Sometimes it seems like there are more questions than you have answers. There are days that are legitimately like that. So if you're having one of those days or weeks or years, right, feel welcome to leave comments or questions here. And go ahead and subscribe to this channel as well. The subscription button's right here. If you haven't joined us yet, please do so. We'd love to have you. This is a video series that has been going on for over 2 years now, and we're right in the midst of the text of A Course in Miracles. I record about 4 or 5 of these every week and publish them here on this YouTube channel. The reason is, well, there are 31 chapters of the text and we're only on chapter 6, so there's more to come. But beyond that, it's the consistency that we're after here. Consistency and persistence are very important in any arena in life. And that's especially true when you're learning a different thought system, especially one that aims on purpose to turn the thought system of the world completely on its head. 180 degrees different. The Holy Spirit and the ego do not communicate with each other, so we choose one or the other, and you know the one to choose. All right, so I invite you to do that. May you do so right now, today. All right. Thank you.